everyone. Welcome to AIUK. I'm really delighted to be here with some wonderful people who are just about to join me on stage. We have James Scott. James is from the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, although he's here in a personal capacity today. And we are long-term collaborators on a project called AutSPACEs, which is participatory research in CitizenScience, looking at autism and sensory processing. And he's going to be talking about that more in a little bit. We also have Helena Hollis and Margaret Colling. Helena works for Connected by Data and has been part of the People's Panel on AI. And Margaret is a member of the public who's joined the People's Panel to represent citizens in understanding AI and how they can be better represented in part of the process. So it's really fabulous to be here on stage with all of you. We've had lots of discussions prior to this already, and it's a huge topic. Lots and lots of things to say and not very much time. So we'll try and do our best to have concise answers. But do come and find us after the session if you want to talk more, if you have more thoughts. And please do ask questions in Slido or put up your hands at the end. We'll have a bit of time for questions. I feel like the slides aren't.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go. Great. So the topic we're all here to discuss today is nothing about us without us. So this is a phrase that was originally part of the disability rights movement, particularly Michael Masuda and William Rowland, who were South African disability rights activists. And it basically means that we shouldn't be doing things that will impact people in society without those people being involved in setting priorities, in design, in understanding, contributing to, and making decisions about the things that will ultimately affect us all. So this then has a much broader application as well. And the projects that we're going to be talking about here are ones which take the spirit, nothing about us without us, and try to bring the people for whom there is most at stake into research, into the development of technology, the design of technology. So I would love to start off a little bit of a discussion around this topic with thinking about inclusion. Inclusion is something that is a value that's often kind of used as a way of expressing a desire for a particular kind of outcome or ethos. But there's a whole gamut of practices that are associated with it. So I would just love to hear your thoughts on what does genuine inclusion mean, and what are the kind of key features that it has to have to actually count for you as inclusion. So perhaps, Margaret, would you like to?
Well, I'm not a gifted public speaker, so everything I'm going to say is written down. But it all comes from my mind. It's just that it's in written format, so I have to read it. So, looking at the inclusivity, the fact that data and AI are changing our world is an indisputable fact. AI has, to quote, the potential to enhance the effectiveness of human tasks, but it is also highly risky and unsafe. So questioning decisions becomes very necessary and relevant for all sections of society. Connected by data say we should decide how things proceed together. The key word here is together, and implies that we need real people to have a seat at the table. Citizen input is becoming ever more important, and inclusivity is now a hot topic. We, the general public, are perfectly capable of forming opinions on any matter appertaining to our daily life if given the relevant information. We can offer a different perspective, often voicing concerns which otherwise might not be mentioned. What we lack in technical knowledge, we make up for with vital life skills and lived experience.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, vital life skills and lived experience, I think, is really important, because there's often this division between experts and others who aren't experts, but actually we all have expertise when it comes to the society we want to shape, the lives we want to live, and how we want to be impacted by technology and research. So how about you, Helena? What do you feel is important for inclusion to be genuine and real?
I mean, I would just like to clap Margaret's response, which I think really says it all. But as someone who's worked in research and in this field, I think inclusivity and inclusion has to be considered from the very outset, and it's baked into the questions we ask. So if you're going to ask, what can AI do? How can we develop this technology? You are inherently only going to be inviting certain people to answer your question. If you ask, what sort of life do we want to live, and how does AI support that, or how could it support that? Well, then anybody who lives a life can answer that question through their lived experience, as Margaret said. So my provocation would be to start thinking about how we frame the questions from the very outset to make sure that we are all involved in those conversations.
I love that provocation, from the outset. Because I think there's often a tendency to get some kind of affirmation from people at the end of a project to say, like, this is acceptable. But really being involved from the very beginning throughout different stages is really vital to shaping something so that it fits the people who we want to involve. James, what do you feel is important for inclusion?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would definitely echo Helena and Margaret's points. For me, it's absolutely crucial that we have structural participation from the beginning of a project, from ideation all the way through to the completion and delivery and operation. I think often we do see very surface level engagement. It often comes quite late and is often kind of about, therefore offers really limited capacity to change direction because the key decisions have already been taken. So for me, it really is about that full life cycle and about real engagement and the ability for affected groups to engage meaningfully with the technology.
Brilliant, thank you. I think it would be a really good time to start to ground the conversation with some case studies. So first off, it would be great to look at the People's Panel on AI. So Helena and Margaret, perhaps you want to talk through this a bit.
I work at Connected by Data. We're a small organisation, and in the run-up to the AI Safety Summit that took part at the end of last year, and then the Fringe that kind of arose around it, we felt that there could be more inclusivity and the members of the public could be invited to take part in these kind of summit events, which prompted us to convene the People's Panel. We invited members of the public from across the UK to come to London to watch Fringe events, to meet experts, ask them questions, to learn about AI, and then those members of the public deliberated together in order to form some recommendations. This was done pretty fast and on a bootstrap, but we thought it turned out to be a really effective, meaningful, and useful thing to have done. And members of the People's Panel have continued to be engaged and to want to be engaged, including Margaret, who's with me here today. At the end of the People's Panel activities, Margaret wrote down her thoughts right away. So she's going to read her thoughts from just after that engagement happened.
These were my thoughts, summarised a few days after returning from the AI Safety Summit Fringe in London, and sent to Tim Davis from Connected by Data. It seems pertinent to read them out to you now. Here I record my immediate reaction to those eventful 4 days. Pluck 11 random individuals from relative obscurity, ordinary citizens who represent the wider community, gathered from all corners of the UK, and plunge them into the spotlight. Introduce them to the wondrous mysteries of AI, this complex, multifaceted, bewildering world of groundbreaking technology, and see what happens. This is what happened. Last week, I travelled down to London, feeling somewhat apprehensive, I must admit, to meet with 10 strangers, my companions and classmates for the next 4 days. It turned out that most of the group were similarly minded. I think nervous but excited probably sums it up for us all. I had personal doubts about my ability to absorb new information after years without challenging stimulation. All of a sudden, I was presented with a situation which felt a world away from everyday life in a busy tea room where my primary objective was to keep customers happy with a full English, coffee and cakes. This alien environment spoke of machine learning, algorithms, big tech, generative and frontier AI, all hitherto unknown concepts, and initially, I confess, rather overwhelming. But then we met with the team of people entrusted with caring for our every need, both our general well-being, but also nurturing our return to the learning process, making it as easy as possible to assimilate the wealth of new information about to come our way. The carefully constructed timetable of workshops, productive discussions, interspersed with attendance at fringe events, combined to create an intense learning curve. And suddenly, the overriding emotion became one of exhilaration. The spark was lit, the adrenaline flowed, encouraged to express our thoughts, and persuaded that no comment would be perceived as silly or unworthy of consideration, we began to speak. As a group, our thoughts gathered momentum. In fact, so heated and passionate were our comments and concerns, the facilitators, Jamie and Henrietta, struggled to write them down fast enough. I'd never expected to have any cohesive opinions on such technically advanced subject matter, but now there was so much I wanted to say. Suddenly we were all powerful, representatives of our various communities, and our voices mattered. This opportunity for public involvement had to be used to great effect, a rare chance to have a say in topics of global importance. No longer merely humble citizens, but instead worthy of inclusion amidst this assembled company of academics, politicians, and highly qualified speakers from across the world. Never did I expect to proudly stand amongst all those brilliant minds within the hallowed portals of the British Library. Simply thrilling, totally unforgettable, an experience that will stay with me forever. So we came together as strangers and parted as friends, united in our efforts to ensure our voice is heard and goes on being heard, that our carefully structured recommendations are valued and acted upon. Hopkins Van Mill claims to bring people together to inform the future. I think we can agree this venture into public inclusivity has been a worthy success. In this world of increasing automation, we must never overlook the value and importance of face-to-face interaction, still vital in the transference of information. Hasn't this week's experiment proved beyond all doubt that we still need real people in addition to robots? So thank you to the team who brought us from ignorance to awareness. We can never look back.
Thank you so much, Margaret. That's amazing. I love how you unfolded that as a story. Isn't that wonderful? And yeah, I feel that really brings out why it's such an important thing to do and how it can benefit people who are participants as well. I feel there's so many different people who can benefit from more inclusion in research and AI. So thank you so much. And James, now perhaps you'd like to talk about AutSPACEs.
Yes.
And the clicker
Oh,
opportunity.
thank you very much. AutSPACEs. So imagine that every day when you travel to work or go shopping, you're bombarded with a cacophony of different sensory experiences that might actually be quite overwhelming and might lead to even physical effects such as nausea, headaches, increased senses of smell, touch, a sense of overwhelming. These are the experiences that many people, many autistic people, even myself, feel on a day-to-day basis. For some people, it might be transport. Certainly for me today, it was going on the underground. But usually for me and for many people, it's small environmental changes, a messy workspace, a dodgy IT program that doesn't really kind of take into account our needs, and many other things that might be the catalyst for this. And this is really, really common. 9 out of 10 autistic people experience sensory processing differences compared to non-autistic people. But there really is a lack of data and research around how autistic people interact with the public realm. And this is really a gap which AutSPACEs aims to tackle. So together with a neurodiverse team of researchers and open source developers, we being the Alan Turing Institute in collaboration with Autistica, are using participatory research techniques to co-create an open source CitizenScience platform to enable investigation of sensory processing and autism. So essentially that platform will allow autistic people to upload their sensory experiences to create a better data set to be used for research and to be used to improve public services. So the goals of the platform really are threefold. So to share experiences and different practices for being able to manage sensory processing differences. So can you imagine if you're an autistic person or a family member, to actually see what other people are doing who have similar challenges to you could be really, really valuable. It's also about educating neurotypical people about the experiences of autistic people and their friends, families, and colleagues. So really kind of an advocacy role. And finally, and crucially, it's about advising and improving the provision of public services and public service design, design of train stations, design of streets, offices, and really creating that data set to support researchers, to support policymakers and builders and planners to be able to improve those services. I think that's probably actually good for everyone, because usually things that are beneficial for autistic and non-neurotypical people are actually generally better for everybody. So I think there's some real value for all of us there. So naturally, AutSPACEs is a participatory research project, utilising a team of really committed and passionate citizen scientists from a variety of different backgrounds, from technical people to actually design the platform, advocates, policy leads, people with comms and visual design skills, so all the people who need to be brought together to build the platform. And it's not about just about autistic people. We have autistic volunteers, we have non-autistic volunteers, really a wide range of people and supporters, and it uses open source research techniques and software design techniques. So you have a GitHub page so anybody can contribute to the code and to the project through the repository. So we're really very open. So if you're interested in getting involved, please do. And in terms of the community that we've built, it's a really multifaceted community. It's centered around monthly meetup sessions that we have, where people come together to talk about the platform, to talk about the strategy, different pieces of work, and to hold Georgia and the researchers accountable for what's going on.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it really is not about any one person taking the lead. It really is about the community coming together and setting that direction, leading work. There are really great opportunities for people to get involved in the work. So, for example, I'm co-leading with another volunteer the moderation strategy for the platform, and people who have skills or who are interested in getting involved can really do kind of anything they want in terms of that. And the opportunities as well, for example, to co-author papers, to present at events such as this, are really manifold, and really you can do as much or as little as you want. And if you don't want to kind of get involved in that kind of really substantive way, you can actually just sit and watch a session, engage in that way. So it's really as much or as little as you want. There's absolutely no pressure. So yeah, I mean, it's a really, really amazing community. Obviously, as well, as we're designing the platform, what's really important is we're getting the needs of the autistic community as a whole, because we don't suppose to speak for the needs of the community. And so obviously we've done things from the beginning of the project all the way through. We've built in user research, focus groups, and feedback sessions to really engage with as wide a range of people from different networks across the UK to understand the needs of users and to ensure that the platform is aligned with their needs as possible. And just finally to say, I think we have a really, obviously we have benefited as a project from the skills and experiences and passion of our volunteers, but also I think the platform has been really amazing for people involved in the project. It's allowed them to get involved in things that perhaps they normally wouldn't, to speak at events such as this, and to really kind of develop their skills. So on the next slide, if I can move on, we have a QR code with a number of stories from two of our citizen scientists talking about the project. And of course, if you want to learn more about AutSPACEs on the QR code, you can click on that. So, yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, James. Really, really great. And actually, we are now at time. So I was hoping that we would have time for questions, but I feel that we've run over. But it's been really, really good to have your detailed thoughts about the work that you've been doing. So perhaps we have time for one question, even though we've run over a bit. So I'll check what we have on Slido. So we have some wonderful comments. One person is saying, "Thank you for sharing that, Margaret, amazing, and you are certainly a brilliant public speaker, lessons for us all." So that's a lovely comment. And the GitHub link, if you scan the QR code that was on the previous slide, you can find the link there. And we had a final question I was really interested in asking you all around. What do you think the future looks like if we manage to bring more people into the development of technology so that it's beneficial for them? How do you see the future unfolding if we do that as a society?
Me?
Yeah, go for it.
I want to see the continuation of our inclusivity. Our experimental public involvement should not be just seen as a one-off, be a basis now upon which the People's Panel could develop deeper knowledge of specifics. We need reassurance that our concerns regarding safety, trust, responsibility and transparency are constantly referred to in any discussion, and that our recommendations remain at the forefront, incorporated into any decision-making. In an ideal future, we would need to see progress ultimately directed towards enhancement, using AI tools to work for the good of society. This would be a future where we would eradicate the harmful aspects and develop those that are conducive to a better quality of life. In short, making AI work for us, not against us.
Brilliant. I think that's a wonderful note to end on. Making AI work for us, not against us, is something I think we all hold as a strong value. And thank you so much for joining. We are also here representing wider communities of people. So I personally want to thank Kirsty Whittaker and Bastian, who's here in the audience as well, who are the PIs of AutSPACEs, but also the AutSPACEs community, as James said. So thank you, everyone. I hope this has given you some things to think about, and enjoy the rest of your time at AIUK.